Down Pens, a short story by Saki adopted for radio.
Have you written to thank the Froplinsons for what they sent us?
No. I've written 11 letters today expressing surprise and gratitude for sundry unmerited gifts, but I haven't written to the Froplinsons.
Someone will have to write to them.
I don't dispute the necessity, but I don't think the someone should be me. I wouldn't mind writing a letter of angry recrimination or heartless satire to some suitable recipient. In fact, I should rather enjoy it, but I've come to the end of my capacity for expressing servile amiability. 11 letters today and 9 yesterday, all couched in the same strain of ecstatic thankfulness. Really, you can't expect me to sit down to another. There is such a thing as writer fatigue.
I've written nearly as many, and I've had my usual business correspondence to get through too. Besides, I don't know what it was the Froplinsons sent us.
Oh, William the Conqueror calendar with a quotation of one of his great thoughts for every day in the year.
Impossible. He didn't have 365 thoughts in the whole of his life. Or if he did, he kept them to himself. He was a man of action, not of introspection.
Well, it was William Wordsworth, then. I know William came into it somewhere.
That sounds more probable. Well, let's collaborate on this letter of thanks and get it done. I'll dictate, and you can scribble it down. Dear Mrs. Froplinson, thank you and your husband so much for the very pretty calendar you sent us. It was very good of you to think of us.
You can't possibly say that.
It's what I always do say, and what everyone says to me.
We sent them something on the 22nd, so they simply had to think of us. There was no getting away from it.
What did we send them?
Bridge markers in a cardboard case, with some inanity about digging for fortune with a royal spade emblazoned on the cover. The moment I saw it in the shop, I said to myself, Froplinsons, and asked the attendant how much. When he said 9p, I gave him their address, shoved our card in, paid 10p to cover the postage, and thanked heaven. And then they reciprocated with the Wordsworth calendar.
The Froplinsons don't play bridge.
One is not supposed to notice social deformities of that sort. It wouldn't be polite. Besides, what trouble did they take to find out whether we liked reading Wordsworth? For all they knew or cared, we might be frantically embedded in the belief that all poetry begins and ends with John Betjeman, and it might infuriate or depress us to have a daily sample of Wordsworthian products flung at us.
Well, let's get on with the letter of thanks.
Proceed.
How clever of you to guess that Wordsworth is our favourite poet.
No, wait a minute. Do you realise what that means? A Wordsworth collection next Christmas, and another calendar the Christmas after, with the same problem of having to write suitable letters of thankfulness. No, the best thing to do is to drop all further allusion to the calendar and switch to some other topic.
What other topic?
Oh, something like this. What do you think of the New Year honours list? A friend of ours made such a clever remark when he read it. Then you can stick in any remark that comes into your head. It needn't be clever. The Froplinsons won't know whether it is or isn't.
But we don't even know on which side they are in politics. And anyhow, you can't suddenly dismiss the subject of the calendar. Surely there must be some intelligent remark that can be made about it.
Well, you think of one. I can't. The fact is, we've both written ourselves out. Oh, heavens! I've just remembered Mrs. Stephen Ludbury. I haven't thanked her for what she sent.
What did she send?
I forget. I think it was a calendar.
Right, I've got an idea. Let me sit at the desk.
Gladly. Are you going to write to Mrs. Ludbury or to the Froplinsons?
To neither. I'm going to write to the editor of every enlightened and influential newspaper to suggest that there should be a new sort of rule. From the 24th of December to the 3rd or 4th of January, it shall be considered an offence against good sense and good feeling to write or to expect any letter or communication that does not deal with the necessary events of the moment. For example, replies to invitations, arranging transport, renewal of club subscriptions, and of course, all the ordinary everyday affairs of business, engaging new cooks and so forth. These will be dealt with in the usual manner, as something inevitable, a legitimate part of our daily life. But all the bothersome correspondence relating to Christmas and New Year should be swept away to give the season a chance of being really festive. A time of untroubled peace and goodwill.
But you would have to make some acknowledgement of presents received. Otherwise, people would never know whether they had arrived safely.
Of course I have thought of that. Every present that was sent off would be accompanied by a ticket bearing the date of dispatch and the signature of the sender, and some conventional hieroglyphic to show that it was intended to be a Christmas or New Year gift. There would be a counterfoil with space for the recipient's name and the date of arrival, and all you would have to do would be to sign and date the counterfoil, add a conventional hieroglyphic indicating heartfelt thanks and gratified surprise, put the thing into an envelope, and post it.
Oh, it sounds delightfully simple, but people would consider it too cut and dried, too perfunctory.
It's not a bit more perfunctory than the present system. I have only the same conventional language of gratitude at my disposal with which to thank dear old Colonel Chuttle for his perfectly delicious Stilton, which we shall devour to the last morsel, and the Froplinsons for their calendar, which we shall never look at. Colonel Chuttle knows that we are grateful for the Stilton without having to be told, and the Froplinsons know that we are bored with their calendar, whatever we may say to the contrary, just as we know that they are bored with the bridge markers, in spite of their note of thanks for our charming little gift. What is more, the Colonel knows that even if we take a sudden aversion to Stilton, we would still write a letter of hearty thanks. So you see, the present system of acknowledgement is just as perfunctory and conventional as the counterfoil business would be, only 10 times more tiresome.
Your plan would certainly bring the ideal of a happy Christmas a step nearer realisation.
There are exceptions, of course. People who infuse a breath of reality into their letters of acknowledgement. Aunt Susan, for instance, who writes, "Thank you very much for the ham. Not such a good flavour as the one you sent last year, which itself was not a particularly good one. Hams are not what they used to be." It would be a pity to be deprived of her Christmas comments, but that loss would be swallowed up in the general gain.
Oh, I guess I'm with you there. Meanwhile, what am I to say to the Froplinsons?
Down Pens, a short story by Saki adopted for radio, directed by Daren Callow. In Down Pens, Egbert was played by Anthony Squire and Janetta by Sangjan Newton.